If Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins do not win a playoff game this year, as much as we all like the quirkiness of Mike and the players love playing for him, you got Belichick lurking?
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot believe this is happening to the Miami Dolphins right now. They were one of the most hyped teams in 2023, but now things are crashing down. Could it be the Hard Knocks curse? And you also have drama with star players. We often forget the fact that Mike McDaniel was not supposed to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and Tua Tagovailoa was not supposed to be the quarterback. Instead, it was supposed to be Sean Payton as the head coach with Tom Brady as quarterback and a limited partner with the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins were popped with tampering in 2022. Stephen Ross, the owner, was suspended for 6 weeks, had to pay a fine, and the Dolphins ended up losing a first-round pick due to tampering. They were tampering with Tom Brady all the way back in 2019 when he was with the New England Patriots. Then they also had contact with Brady and his agent in the 2021 season. The plan was for Brady to become a limited partner in the Dolphins and possibly serve as a football executive while playing quarterback at the same time. In January 2022, they were also talking to Sean Payton and his agent Don Yee, even though he was still technically under contract with the New Orleans Saints. This was an overlooked plot that was laid out prior to the 2022 season. The Dolphins were planning to link up Sean Payton with Brady, and they were going to roll together in the 2022 season, and they did it behind everyone's back. They did it behind the Buccaneers' back and the Saints' back. So the 83-year-old Dolphins owner Stephen Ross decided to move elsewhere after the league punished him for tampering, and he decided to hire the hotshot offensive mind Mike McDaniel as the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins for 2022. But it is important to understand that Mike McDaniel was always viewed as a consolation prize for the Dolphins owner Stephen Ross. The Dolphins decided to still shoot for the stars and have high aspirations with Tua, with Mike McDaniel, and they started it off in March of 2022 by trading for star wide receiver Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs, giving up a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a fat 4-year, $120 million contract, a record-setting contract at the time. Tyreek Hill would become the highest-paid wide receiver in NFL history. It seems like he was a little jealous of Davante Adams' deal with the Las Vegas Raiders around the same time, and so he forced his way out of Kansas City to get the bag, and he was obliged with the bag. Going into 2022, the Dolphins were set with a former first-round pick, speedy wide receiver Jalen Waddle, and now the highest-paid wide receiver in the NFL, Tyreek Hill, paired with the offensive mind of Mike McDaniel. Could Tua pull this off? And at the start of the 2022 season, it really looked like Tua was going to pull this off, was going to turn a corner, was going to prove all the haters wrong who said that he was a first-round pick bust. And the Dolphins would go 3-0 in their first few games against the Patriots, against the Baltimore Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills. However, a concussion controversy would throw a wrench in the spokes of the Dolphins' 2022 season. In that third win against the Buffalo Bills, right before the end of the half, Tua missed the final 3 snaps of that first half after hitting his head and wobbling around for a few steps. It was very odd seeing how he was behaving, walking and standing up a little bit and then wobbling and falling down. He was cleared to return and still finish that football game, and at the time, the Dolphins said, and Tua said, that he had a back injury. It wasn't actually a head injury. Tua was not diagnosed with a concussion at the time, and then 4 days later on Thursday Night Football, Tua suffered a concussion on prime time. It was nasty. It was one of the most ugly experiences that an NFL audience has had to see of a quarterback laying on the field, twitching and stiff, and then had to leave the game on a stretcher. Many NFL fans and pundits were critical of the Dolphins and how they handled this situation. It now looked like the evaluation on that Sunday game against the Bills that said that Tua just had a back injury, it now looked like that evaluation was complete bullshit. Tua would only miss 2 games after this nasty display on Thursday Night Football, and he would return to the football field and do quite well for several weeks with the Miami Dolphins. However, In Week 16 against the Green Bay Packers, the injuries would come back to haunt Tua, and he would suffer another concussion in this game late in the season and would be ruled out and placed in concussion protocol yet again. The Dolphins would roll with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback for the remainder of the season, but unfortunately, he would suffer a finger injury late in the season against the Patriots, and instead, the Dolphins, in a wild card playoff matchup against the Bills, they would have to roll with the 7th round pick rookie quarterback Skylar Thompson. So the injuries to the starting quarterback effectively ended the first season for Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins. Tua would later go on to say that these concussions were so scary that he considered retirement.
Yeah, I think I considered it. Having sat down with my family, having sat down with my wife, and having those kind of conversations, really it would be hard for me to walk away from this game with how old I am, with my son. I always dreamed of growing, playing as long as I could to where my son knew exactly what he was watching his dad do.
The Miami Dolphins offense, even with the injuries to Tua, definitely overachieved on that side of the football, but the defense struggled tremendously in 2022. This even led the Dolphins to make a desperate measure to improve the defense in the middle of the 2022 season in November, trading for pass rusher Bradley Chubb of the Denver Broncos for a 2023 first-round pick and running back Chase Edmonds. Going into the 2023 offseason, there was some hype for the Miami Dolphins. What could the team be like if Tua was healthy? What could the team be like if the defensive side of the football got better and was able to complement that offense? And that is why the Miami Dolphins, for the second offseason in a row, made a huge splash trade to start off the new year, trading for Jalen Ramsey, the Pro Bowl cornerback from the LA Rams, and they only had to give up just a 3rd round pick and tight end Hunter Long. There was even more hype on the defensive side of the football as the Dolphins went ahead and hired Vic Fangio, the former Broncos head coach, as their new defensive coordinator. So the sky was the limit for the 2023 season for the Dolphins, but could Tua Tagovailoa stay healthy? And the Miami Dolphins quarterback, who had been heavily criticized, would deliver, and he would end up leading the NFL in passing yards for the 2023 season. At a certain point, the Miami Dolphins looked unstoppable, and it would be so ironic seeing them destroy the Denver Broncos 20-70 against Sean Payton, the man who was originally supposed to have Mike McDaniel's job with Tom Brady. But things would start to fall apart on Christmas Eve in a game against the Dallas Cowboys when Jalen Waddle suffered an injury and would be out the following game. The following week, without Jalen Waddle, the Dolphins would play the Baltimore Ravens and get absolutely destroyed. Tua would throw 2 picks, and on top of that, Tyreek Hill would suffer a leg injury and look slow to get up, and things started looking devastating for the Miami Dolphins. Even though Tyreek Hill would make it to the next game against the Bills, he never looked the same, and also Jalen Waddle was still unavailable. Not only would the Dolphins suffer another L in a row against the Buffalo Bills, but Tua would only pass for 173 yards, his lowest of the entire 2023 season. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill would make it to the playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but the offense overall was stagnant. They were no match for Kansas City's defense, and it ultimately looked like they were not prepared for the weather, and the Dolphins never stood a chance against Kansas City, unfortunately, and Tyreek Hill would be knocked out of the playoffs by his old team that he left for the bag in Miami. Then a shocking move was made at the end of the 2023 season when the Dolphins would fire Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator. They claim they mutually parted ways, but we all know what that really means, right? The shocking thing about this is you had so many Dolphins players talking shit on Vic Fangio on social media. It went so far that Drew Rosenhaus, an agent that represents a couple of Dolphins players, said that there were quite a few players that didn't necessarily get along with Fangio. It wasn't a great relationship with many of the players. So even though Fangio was supposed to be this hotshot big splash hiring in the beginning of 2023, it backfired and was shut down prematurely in just 1 year. And now things are taking another twisted turn for the Dolphins as they have released the former Pro Bowl cornerback Xavier Howard. This man is still healthy and still has plenty left in the tank, but just like the New Orleans Saints, the Miami Dolphins are usually in cap hell, so Dolphins likely did this for cap reasons, even though they're still going to eat some dead money by getting rid of Howard. But the notable thing is what Jalen Ramsey had to say after Xavier Howard was released. He had a heartfelt goodbye to him, but he said shit be crazy how stuff plays out sometimes. But one thing I know for sure is that it was an honor teaming up with the greatest corner in Dolphins history, in my opinion. And here's the kicker. Here's the interesting thing he said. I won't ever forgive Dude for not utilizing our full skill set. I won't ever forgive Dude. I think we all know who Dude is. It is Vic Fangio. He is that dude, and it seems like Miami really hated this guy. The Dolphins will also have plenty of decisions to make, plenty of tough ones, mainly on defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. This guy is set to get paid a high amount, and he played on the final year of his contract this past season. If the Dolphins can't come to an agreement, they're gonna have to franchise tag this guy, and it's gonna cost a lot. On top of that, the Dolphins have to decide if they're gonna exercise the 5th-year option on wide receiver Jalen Waddle. They gotta make the decision this May, and some people have been talking about maybe this guy could be a trade piece. Tyreek Hill pushed back on that, saying my boy Waddle is the future. He is better than I was at this point in his career, and for people in this fan base to want to trade him is ludicrous. So Tyreek Hill is pounding the table to keep Jalen Waddle and have the Dolphins exercise that 5th-year option. The Dolphins will also have to make a decision on Jalen Phillips, the pass rusher. He's set to have his 5th-year option exercised, but he did tear his Achilles last year, so it's an open question if the Dolphins want to continue to roll with this guy. Perhaps they will roll with the edge rusher Jalen Phillips for the future because they released Emmanuel Ogbah. This guy was paid a decent amount of money in 2020, but he has now been released, so the Dolphins could clear up some cap space. But the big question is the head coach. The owner, Stephen Ross, already tried to make a power play for Sean Payton before hiring Mike McDaniel, and now, after 2 seasons, even though it's not all Mike McDaniel's fault, the Dolphins have failed to win a playoff game. They have made the playoffs each year, but every time they fall short. And you have so many great head coaches available on the open market. Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, those 2 names are going to be out there for 2024. And if Stephen Ross is not happy if the Dolphins fall short again in 2024, you have to acknowledge the fact that Mike McDaniel's time with the Miami Dolphins could be over. If you're still watching this late in the video, I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, Wi-Fi Willie, for more NFL content from me. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.